Today we're going to talk about who you mix with. And there's a very good reason for us covering this topic. Yeah, be careful, there's some dodgy characters around. I want to just open this with a little story. When I first became a full-time hypnotherapist, which was about 4 or 5 years ago now, it wasn't long after my sister had become self-employed as a graphic designer. Now, two totally completely different areas of work. But my sister Pip is self-employed. She works on her own. I'm self-employed. I work on my own in a way because my clients, they come and go as soon as I get them better, which happens quite quickly, you'll be pleased to hear. They're gone, so it's very much I am working as an individual. And so what we used to do, we realised that can be quite lonely sometimes, and it's very difficult to motivate yourself with regard to getting more clients and marketing. So I used to trottle on down to Pip's house at 9 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, and we made it very focused. We would spend from 9 till 10 o'clock on a Wednesday morning brainstorming. And the whole idea was, what should we be doing this following week to generate more business? And so Pip's obviously getting people who want, marketing, literature, whatever. So she was on the whole after either self-employed people or companies, and I was after clients. So two totally different types of audience in what they were seeking. However, what we quickly realised was there was a common theme there. And that is, as we just started to talk, very much similar to Debbie and I, when we sat down just now and said, okay, what do we want to say in this short video? The ideas, as we started talking, began to flow. And they flow in a way that you can quite quickly discount some things, but then something that you hadn't thought of will suddenly come onto the horizon just because you're interacting with another positive person. And Pip and I would finish these meetings and we'd come away and we're like, right. Whereas if I stayed at home in my own office, come down, have my breakfast, and at 9 o'clock thought, right, what am I going to do? I wouldn't have got that engine started quite in the same way and gone, right, even though I am quite motivated. So this is the importance of, even if it's nothing to do with your therapy, find somebody who's self-employed, who's positive and wants to achieve something, and sit down, keep it very focused, even if only over half an hour to an hour. Actually set an agenda of what do you want to achieve within that hour. You can talk about anything else after the hour and see what you come up with.
I think that's a really, really good point, Nick, about the positivity. Think about the people that you spend most time with, because of course what happens is we become most like the average of the 5 people we spend most time with. So it's worth thinking about the people around you. What's their energy like? Are they glass half full people? Are they glass half empty people? Because it's really important that you generate that energy, you radiate that energy yourself, but also you spend time with people with that positive energy too. Now, as therapists, as Nick said, it can be quite a lonely existence. So it's really important that you find some way of supporting yourself and keeping yourself in that positive mindset. So have a look around, see what peer support groups there might be. It might be that your therapy association runs local support groups, and those can be really, really helpful. Of course, they've all got different characteristics, and if there's a particularly kind of negatively thinking bunch, then you might want to think again.
Steer clear, yeah.
But mostly, by and large, these people are motivated. They're motivated to set up a group because they want to support one another. So by and large, they will be very, very positive. Another thing you could think about would be joining local general business networking groups. These can be quite expensive, and some of them ask you to commit to quite perhaps a year ahead and so on. But they're not all like that, so it's worth looking out to see what business support groups there are in your area, because of course you don't just need to interact with other therapists, as Nick has said.
And also, sorry to interrupt, but with a lot of the networking groups you can go along as a visitor for up to 2 or 3 times, so not a huge amount. So it's finding the people that are going to these and say, well, would you like to take me along, I might be interested. Doesn't mean you have to sign up.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So it needn't be very, very expensive, but it's a really, really good way of interacting with others, telling people who aren't in your therapy area what your therapy does, and then they will become advocates for you. This is really, really important. The other thing that you could do is perhaps just reach out to other therapists yourself. So perhaps other therapists in the therapy room, maybe once a month, take an hour out, and don't have a formal meeting, just have a get-together, but keep it nicely positive. One really good way of tapping into local groups is to have a look on LinkedIn. So if you're not on LinkedIn already, it is worth registering and just having a look around to see what other groups there are. Not only do they do online discussions, which is very, very useful, but also the better ones, they will every so often say, hey guys, let's all have a get-together, and somebody will just lead the way, book a venue, and then you all go along and you get to meet one another face-to-face, who you've kind of got to know through LinkedIn as well. This is so important. The other thing I'd like you to think about is what's going in here. What newspapers are you reading? What radio stations are you listening to? What pages do you gather your news from on the website? However it is you get your information. Do you watch soaps?
I had a client, now this is a very good one, Debbie.
Yeah.
I had a client come to me with severe anxiety, severe anxiety. And I was talking through to her how the brain worked. And what I did touch on was, well, what sort of TV do you watch? And she said, oh, I love, and she mentioned a very, very well-known soap opera. And I said, oh, interesting. I said, but you're very, very anxious. And I said, you're watching that? She said, oh, I love it though. I said, okay, how do you feel, now think about this one for a minute, how do you feel when you're pushing the off button after that TV programme? And she said, well, I don't, I carry on watching. I said, yeah, well, imagine you did. And she said, oh, well, I'd just be wondering what's going to happen with that character. I said, yeah, it's interesting because that subconscious part of your brain, which doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality, starts to absorb that information almost as though it's really happening. I said, now take a different example. Imagine now I want you to do this right now. Think about the person that makes you laugh the most on TV. Now, whether that's a comedy series or, a stand-up comedian, just think, whether it's something very old or something very modern, what really makes you laugh? And then imagine switching the button off on the TV, the remote control, immediately after that. How are you feeling? And this is where the TV assaults all our senses, or a lot of our senses, our vision, our hearing, how we feel. And it can have a real detrimental effect, can't it?
It can. So it's
it can build up.
Really, really worth thinking about what you're feeding into your brain, because it's so important to remain positive, because you want to radiate that positivity, that energy to your clients. You want to radiate it to attract them to you, but also to help them feel better. So if you're filling your head with lots of negative energy from either how you're spending your leisure time or who you're mixing with, that is going to reflect on what you can radiate out. So really, really have to think about that. Look after yourself. Give yourself enough downtime that you can relax. And when you're relaxing, be very, very careful about what you're feeding in.
And this is, I think Debbie was thinking I'd gone slightly barking mad recently, because we run, Association for Solution-Focused Hypnotherapists, so that's one aspect. We've got Therapist Marketing Solutions, which is another aspect. And then we have our practices, our hypnotherapy practices, which are full on, obviously. And so there's a lot of work there. Now I have 2 dogs, so I like dog walking. I like picking up a camera and taking some photographs. But I recognise, the work balance is very high at the moment. So what I happened to see something on Twitter, funnily enough, which is about beekeeping. And I could see as we were walking along the seafront just now, Debbie's eyes going heavenward. She's thinking, what? And I said, I just find it quite fascinating. And the thought of actually doing something very gentle, very calming, is very good for us. And as a hypnotherapist, we know, we have an understanding of how the brain works. We really do understand the benefit of this. So especially, say, if you're doing something which is dealing with, say, negative people, so counselling, for instance, psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, whatever it is, if you're working with the mind, or if you're working with people who are ill, then that can actually drain into our own subconscious minds. And this is where balance is very important, and this is where we come back to the topic of this video, is you should be, to the best of your ability, because you can't do it obviously 24/7, mixing with people who are positive. So if you have a choice of going out to lunch with somebody who you know is full of the doons, okay, we're not saying divorce yourself from all your negative friends, but just think about if you have a choice of somebody who's more upbeat, think if within work time, go and have lunch or a drink with that upbeat person, because it will reflect with your clients. There will be this almost mirror neurons reflecting, and that will get across to your clients. So it is something that a lot of people, they might even think we're talking complete bananas here. It's actually shown that it does have an effect, and you do need to be positive.
Excellent, so look after yourselves.
Indeed. Until the next time, goodbye.
Bye.